Hello everyone, my name is Flavio Pereira. I'm part of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure on the Technical Enablement team, and this is the second portion of the data migration. So on this second portion, we're going to talk about offline transport. We're going to cover data transfer appliance and data transfer disk. So if you're planning to move a good amount of data, a huge amount of data from your on-premises to OCI, you have two options that you can use to accomplish that. You can use data transfer disk or data transfer appliance. So the data transfer disk is a service that you can just ship a hard driver to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And these hard drivers can be a SATA disk or USB disk that you can hook up to your servers on your on-premises environment. You can copy the data inside of those disks and then send that disk over to us. Then we're going to copy that data to an object storage that was specific dedicated to you. So you're going to give us which object storage you want to put that data, and then we're going to copy that data there, and then you're going to have access through that data on that object storage. Then you can copy that over to your block storage or your local machine that you have up and running inside of OCI. So the data transfer appliance, instead of you providing the hard driver, we're going to send you an appliance. We're going to send an appliance to you. You're going to copy that data inside of that appliance, then send that appliance back to Oracle, and then we're going to copy the data to the object storage and then give you access through that data, right? So what's the difference between those two? The data transfer disk, you can go up to 100 terabytes of data, and you can send that 10 disks per transfer package. So the limit capacity is 100 terabytes. You can divide that in 10 disks and then send that over to us, and then we copy that data there for you. So the data transfer appliance, the capacity is 150 terabytes. So if you go beyond 100 terabytes and you don't have to send in multiple hard drives, you can just ask for the appliance. It's easy to ask through the OCI console. We can send the appliance over to you, and then you get that, you put the data inside of the appliance, and we encrypted that data, right, and then send that over to us. Okay, so those two options are available, very easy to use, very easy to get this requested through the OCI console, and then you can send that data over to OCI. So just to give an idea of the data transfer appliance specification, right? So the hard drive, you can use the hard drive. You can have one hard drive today on your own premises, but for the transfer appliance, you might need to understand what's the specifications of the hardware that we're going to send it to you, right? So just a couple things to highlight here. You can see the appliance weight is 38 pounds and 64 pounds if you're counting the shipping case. There's a shipping case that will be going with the appliance towards you. You have to remember that the appliance, the only thing that's exposed to you as a customer to plug on the appliance is the power, the network, and the serial console. So those are the three things that will be available for you to actually plug on that appliance. You can hook up that appliance on your rack, right, on your data center. It's a 2U device, so you can just put it on top of the table, or if you have a rack, you just can hook up that on the rack, and then connect the network, connect the power, connect the serial console if you need to start copying the data over there. Data secure, there's a AS256 encryption. So when you copy the data inside of the appliance, we're going to use the utilities to make sure that you apply the encryption on that data. And then when you ship that back to us, the data will be encrypted all the way from your home or your location until it get to the OCI, right? Network connectivity is a 10 gigabit network that's available. So if you have a 10 gigabit network connectivity on your local network, so that's going to take advantage of it, right? So those are the few specifications and information about the hardware that you need to understand. Also, the management interface is a NFS v3, v4, or 4.1. So that's how you're actually going to mount the device and connect to the device, so you can start copying the data over there. So what about the encryption, right? I touched the encryption that you have to encrypt the data, but whether using the appliance or the disk, right? So the encrypted data is going to be at rest with AES 256-bit encryption. And all the encryption password is actually stored in OCIE, which is separated from the transfer appliance or disk. So when you created the encryption password to actually seal the disk or seal the appliance, that would be copied directly on OCIE, and then it's not going to be traveling with the disk when you're shipping that over to us. So if someone, perhaps, the shipping company just lost the disk or lost the hard drive, that's not a problem. No one will be able to actually get access to the data you put it over there, right? Because they don't have the way to decrypt your encryption and then get access to the data. Okay, and once you land that data in the OCI bucket on the object storage, is also encrypted as well, is encrypted at rest. So there's an encryption of the data on the object storage too. Okay. So how do you put actually the encryption on the disk, right? Using data transfer utility, that's actually a command line or a software that you can install on your machine. That's going to help you to prepare the transfer disk and prepare all the data, encrypted data for the shipment, and then you can send that over to OCI. So there's few requirements here in terms of the operating system that you can install that, Java version as well. So I highly recommend you might want to use a virtual machine just to have this data transfer utility installed. Then you can get access to the data, and then copy the data over to your data transfer disk or data transfer appliance, and using that machine just to encrypt the data and finalize that for shipment. There are some firewall requirements as well, so you can get access to the object storage later on to get access to your data. So make sure you have some of those, have the firewall configuration enabled, so that way you can get access to the data once that moved to OCI. So another option in terms of command line for preparing the data, you can use the command line interface, the OCIE CLI, which has a DTS functionality on the OCIE CLI to actually help you to prepare the appliance and all the data to ship that to OCI. Okay, that will help you with the encryption too, and you have to use that on the Linux machine. So the only thing is, if you're using command line interface, that's only available on the Linux operating system. So then you can use that as an option to encrypt the data and send the data over as well. Okay, so how the data transfer works? What's the workflow for that, right? You're going to create a transfer job. You can use that to the OCI console or the command line interface. You can create that transfer job. You can request one or more appliances. So if you're willing to do the data transfer appliance, you can request that to the console. Then once you request, you're going to receive the appliance. Once you receive it, you connect the appliance to the network, connect that to the appliance via serial console or IP. So it depends how you want to connect to it. Then you're going to use one of the utilities, the data transfer utility or the command line interface, to prepare the appliance, to create the encryption, right, and the data sets. Once you copied everything there, you're going to seal the data set using the manifest file that will be generated through the data transfer utility or the OCIE CLI. And then you're going to finalize the transfer, right? You're going to finalize the transfer, which is going to be to ship that data transfer appliance back to Oracle or send the data transfer disk to Oracle. And then we're going to copy that data to the object storage. So those are the 6 steps on the high level, okay? So if you're still thinking about why should I use the offline transport, right? What's the advantage of it? So this is just one quick table to show you if you want to send data and let's say you have a link of 10 megabits per second or 100 or 1 gigabits per second. This is the amount of time that's going to take, depends on the data size, right? So that's one example. If you're using 100 terabytes, which is ideal for data transfer disk, right? If you decided to send that over to internet and you have 100 megabits per second network bandwidth on the internet, that's going to take roughly 101 days to do it, right? So that's going to take a lot of time. And if you do that using data transfer services, gonna get this done in 1 week. Okay. So same thing if you're going to 500 terabytes or 1 petabyte of data, right? Depends on the connectivity you have. It's better if you do that with the data transfer services. So sending 1 petabyte of data, even if you have a 1 gigabits network using Fast Connect, it's going to take 101 days too. So in 2 weeks, you're going to have that data available to you. Okay. So this is just give an idea of the data sets and how long it'll take if you decided to send through a public interface or using data transfer service. Okay. So that concludes our portion. The next video, we're going to talk about online transport, and we're going to use some of the options for like storage gateway, or using have your Fast Connect connected, your VPN connectivity. So what are the options you have for online transport? Thanks for watching.